the long, continuous, severe retaliation known as a Code Red, and it escalated into his murder. And it came just days after he was exonerated because the institutional support that was there in downtown El Paso, um, looked into the setup charges that happened in of January 27th of 2020, and said, look, these are there's no evidence. There's no evidence. This soldier maintains his innocence. Um, he is declared so sweet. He is declared so sweet and does whatever you ask. And there's no evidence. And there seems to be, a retaliatory aspect of this event anyway, because we have received information that it was, and seemingly it was Belen Rocha that called 911. Well, Richard had made Child Protective Services complaints against her. So is this retaliatory? Did she think this up? Or was she led to do this? If this is the case, who are the people behind the curtain that are leading and directing this kind of retaliatory false accusations, false reporting to law enforcement authorities? Seems to be something that Leilani Hart would know a lot about, because she's a convicted criminal, because she uh, gives false reports to law enforcement authorities. And now here we're getting information seemingly that Belen Rocha is making false reports to law enforcement authorities. It's like the same spirit, right? So let me check here if I'm on Facebook. Oh, yes, I'm putting up TikTok. I have my TikTok video ready to go, that I'll put on there after this live stream. It got so late, I just had to hurry up and get on. We're moving at 100 miles an hour, and it's going faster and faster. I think we're speeding up. We're going to get to hundreds of miles an hour, and then into the thousands. That's how these things work, and that's why you have to keep going and pace yourself, and get into good shape when it comes to evidence and irregularities and circumstantial evidence. You need to have it all ready to go, because when this starts, today we've had 3 breaking newses today. 3. Does that make it 300 miles an hour that we're going today? You be the judge. 3 breaking newses today. And the first one was that the 911 call, the meeting, the law enforcement, when they got to that area to point out Richard's car and who Richard is, seemingly that was the accuser, the main accuser. We are being told it was Belen Rocha. We have this now, this alliance, right? This alliance. And we're being told that the accuser was Belen Rocha. Now, the place where this parking lot was, where the canine cop stopped Richard, failed to put his lights on, failed to make a real traffic stop, failed to record, failed to really, follow protocol. Because he didn't, because there was no evidence, no open containers, no 6-pack of beer, no anything, and that Richard was angry He was angry because he refused to accept what they were trying to do to him. He was cooperative, but he was angry. Um, this is what we're being told, and he refused. He maintained his innocence. He refused to agree with anything that they were doing, and he maintained his innocence and his rights. And that paid off. That paid off because when the institutional support, when the judge looked at it, was like, okay, this is stinky. This is a soup sandwich. This is not right. There's no evidence. Why was he arrested? And so on July 9th, even though in January and even February, the accuser, we're told, is seemingly is Belen Rocha. And of course, that gives a whole new spin to this. We knew it was retaliatory. We understand it was retaliatory. Now, I mentioned it before the last couple nights. This is very important because the first person that dropped the hammer on Richard after January 27th was Clem Coward, Major General Clem Coward. Now, if a judge can look at the case and say this is stinky, there's no evidence, and this soldier is maintaining his innocence throughout this whole thing, why would Major General Clem Coward drop the hammer of retaliation on Richard? Why? So this is really, really important to. Matter of fact, something just jogged my mind and I need to look it up. Oops. Let's see. Okay, thank you, Grace, for coming on. Yeah, I needed to write a note real quick before I forget it. So, because this case has so many facets or so many parts to it that you have to be on top of it all the time. And so I thank you so much for coming on and listening to these live streams. And as I said in the video that I just recorded for TikTok, I don't think that people understand the power that they have, because you listening, you sharing, you giving this case attention is necessary and crucial to us getting justice for Richard. And I think that in any case that gets a lot of attention, that's where you're going to have the most oversight and that you're going to get justice. And so anybody coming on here and paying attention to this case and sharing this case and advocating for justice for Richard, signing the petition that is for the congressional inquiry, which leads me to the second breaking news. The second breaking news is that the active duty Fort Bliss soldier contacted us today to let us know that this congressional inquiry is getting a lot of attention. It's getting a lot of attention and it's moving forward. And the concern that we have for this soldier, after everything that we have gone through, that we know that Richard gone through. Look at this fake DUI that was orchestrated against Richard to discredit him as a whistleblower in the court of law. And now we're finding out seemingly Belen Rocha had this big hand in it by calling she was the one that called 911. She's the one that directed the law enforcement to Richard's car. I mean, wow. And then, of course, you have the dirty agent, Marlon Soto, that we talk to day in and day out. It makes a lot of sense because when we were in Florida, and this all first happened when I call it Hell Week, and then Hannah put up her article on Instagram that got 40,000 shares, right? See, people are absolutely necessary and crucial to getting movement and justice and, you know, uh, the attention that we need. And when that happened, the army, who had kicked Richard off the rolls, came back and said, well, maybe we need to put Richard back on the rolls now, right? And assigned us um, uh, Marlon Soto, the head of the CID of Fort Bliss, there. That whole office was now looking into Richard's case, so we were told. And during that week, when they first came back, when they took Richard back and put him on the rolls, it was all about the DUI. Okay, it was all about the DUI. And remember, the very first thing that they told the media, specifically Stars and Stripes, is that Richard was a drunk driver, right? That's what so it was all about this. And we're like, okay, so tell us about this case. Let's have this case. And we went and ordered this case during that time from the El Paso Police Department. And it was just such a soup sandwich. And Marlon Soto could not tell us about the breathalyzer. He was just fumbling, stumbling for days and days about this breathalyzer. And I'm like, how hard can it be to tell us what Richard's breathalyzer was? And, and we didn't, because everything was going so fast at that point as far as trying to look for Richard, hoping that he was still alive. Um, we didn't request the El Paso Police Department information till, oh my gosh, I have to look on the date, because you're doing all kinds of things with all kinds of institutions and agencies. I mean, it was just crazy. But the thing that I remember most is that Marlon Soto, and I've said this before, this dirty agent could not tell us and get it right about the breathalyzer. Days and days stumbling and fumbling. And now, we're hearing that Richard refused, and he maintained his innocence, and that it was a setup. It makes sense with what we went through. And so looking at this Fort Bliss active duty soldier right now who has so much bravery, and who contacted us today. He contacted us today to let us know, and we have to wrap our brains around what he told us, and I'll talk about that tomorrow after we figure out what he told us, what that means, going forward in this congressional inquiry. Because we're just, we're not lawyers. We're not lawyers. We just want our Congress people to inquire about Fort Bliss, because we know that they are obstructing justice in our son's case, and about the security issues because of the CCTV footage. There's so many things that can come out of this congressional inquiry, right? And so, with every step forward, we have to do research. We have to not act rash. We have to not act emotional, because, we have to be our own investigators, and we have to be our own legal, because to pay for legal is so expensive. I mean, how can the average person like us do it? We can't. Not in this case. Not with all of these facets. I mean, if you had one little issue, you can pay for a lawyer to handle that issue. But we're talking about a case that involves the DA, a case that involves a defense attorney. Um, a defense attorney. We're talking about the DES. We're talking about Park University. We're talking about UTEP. We're talking about El Paso Matters and KTEP, involving the CID, involving the command structure, involving JAG, involving CPS, involving CYS, and on, right? It is the PI, right? Um, Danae Katzen. Uh, you know, it involves so many different facets. We would never be able to pay for a legal to help us in this case. Okay? So we have to be our own legal. So we have to do the research. And it is, you know, by the by the power of God, we've been able to get through this and understand, um, without getting emotional, without acting rash. And sometimes I have, but most of the time I've tried to, just give it to God and let's wait and search through this. And what I'm so concerned about with this soldier, right? This Fort Bliss soldier that has been so brave and is so brave to even contact us, right? Because he has revealed in these last couple weeks that he has information on statements, uh, firsthand witness to statements by people involved in the disappearance of Richard. That is what he has revealed. And so here he is doing this inquiry. And now, um, this incredible information coming out. And so he has contacted us, and we're so afraid for him. We are so afraid for him. That is the problem. Because look at what Richard went through. And what we know is that Lieutenant General Bernabe, who is in his chain of command, has obstructed justice in our son's case and is up to no good. And also withheld, can you imagine? I mean, this is just one little thing, because he has committed crimes against humanity, which is the big thing, right? But in our son's case, he has absolutely obstructed justice. And also, for those months that he pulled the wool over our eyes, right? That he was in the league of Danae Katzen being a con man, talking about the DUI being the basis for all of the retaliation, all of the violations of UCMJ. Weaponizing the tools, the UCMJ against Richard. And Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe was covering that up and defending it with lies and perpetrating this smear campaign against Richard through his PAO to the media. This guy is in the chain of command of this active duty Fort Bliss soldier that has requested a congressional. That scares us, because he is also under Major General James Eisenhower, that with multiple, I think 9 or 10 now, maybe more, maybe it's 12. Maybe 12 is the magic number. I don't know. We have notified him numerous times, a dozen times, with evidence that Leilani Hart is a convicted criminal for false reports to law enforcement, and more, that she's not credible, she's an unreliable source, um, and that the JAG, by Thomas Kane's own words, is working and operating outside of the law, right? That they obstructed justice by intimidating and retaliating against a key witness in our son's case, right? We have notified this general over and over again. So, Major General James Eisenhower, under the command of Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, up to no good, right? Or Bernabe, whatever you want to say. You can just say Lieutenant General up to no good, right? Let's just name him Lieutenant General up to evil, um, up to destroying our military, up to destroying the service members under his charge. I mean, what name can we give him, right? And now Major General Eisenhower is, I guess, his apprentice, and being up to no good. And so we are, this really makes us concerned for the safety of this active duty soldier that might come under retaliation for, being a witness to statements of those uh, involved in the disappearance of our son, and, also for the congressional inquiry. Okay? So that's why we really need, because him contacting us today, I'm just going to tell you, that was amazing. Amazing. Because they are so concerned about this case. They are so concerned. This is such a priority. And, that was just remarkable, because in order to get the accountability, we need the establishment, what is the word I'm looking for? Uh, the institutional help. We need the institutional help, um, with all the evidence that we have, to get that accountability. We need that institutional help to be very concerned about this case, that this case needs to go right up on top of their list of concerned cases that they have to address. That's what we need. And so, in order to get that, you have to be pretty brave as a soldier, to also, there is no doubt in our mind, right, Team Find Richard Halliday, that there is active group out there that want to thwart the truth from coming out, that want to intimidate, that want to retaliate, that want to do harm, that want to be up to no good, that want to align with Bernabe, that want to align with uh, James Eisenhower, against the service members, against the safety of Fort Bliss, the security of Fort Bliss, against readjusting the JAG, giving them like a knock. Hello, you're not supposed to be working outside of the bounds of law, right? There is an active force out there that are criminal, because there is a criminal enterprise acting, that Fort Bliss is conducting a criminal enterprise, of weapons smuggling, drugs trafficking, porn, child trafficking, outside, over, through Mexico. I mean, this is, and I've been getting information coming in today about that too. So this soldier is, really at risk for getting retaliated against. And we need to shine a light on him, surround him with that petition. And if you're in El Paso, God bless you. Um, just share, share, share so that this soldier is protected because, he's under Sean Bernabe and James Eisenhower, who do not care a flip, will sell out their service members for what? For anything, right? They have sold their soul, in my opinion. They have sold their soul and have sold out their service members, and their service members don't even know it because it's just, we have the evidence. We have the evidence, right? And you know them by their fruit, right? They can have pretty words or whatever. They can be, charismatic or whatever, but you know them by their fruit. So this is something that, for this soldier to contact us, to inform us how the process is going, and that, I don't know if he was warning us. They are very, very concerned about our son's case. That's very, very encouraging. And, so we need to protect him. That's our concern. It takes a soldier that long to report what happened to Richard, yet Richard isn't found yet. I am starting to believe that many people that contact your family is playing major head games on you. Well, see, the CID met with him today, and uh, we contacted the CID today. So, this is real. We have confirmed that this is real. This is going on. And, if he was playing a game or whatever, they would arrest him. Okay. So, no, this is real. This is really going on. They really visited him today. And that is a very, very strong breaking news. The other breaking news that we have, because this has been a triathlete day, right? Is that we were contacted by the State Department there in Juarez, Mexico. And as everybody knows, we think it is very important with the new information that we have to go and search again at kilometer 29 in Juarez, Mexico. It's very important that we do that, and there's important information there. And, of course, the statement that Richard's remains, partial remains, were there, maybe are there. So that is very, very important to revisit that area. And in order to do that, cooperation with the State Department is crucial. And, of course, not as crucial as getting the public support from all of you. That is, that's the most important. That is what moves and shakes everything. And I don't think people understand. And that's why they try. I didn't understand. That's why they try to manipulate the media so much. They want to have control over the media because they want to control the narrative. And if you can control the narrative, you can control how people respond. And that's why they smeared Richard right off the bat. That's why Richard's identity was stolen right off the bat. They were just trying to control the situation so much. So that is our third breaking news. And let's answer questions now. There's not a doubt in my mind, Kat, with the responses that we have, with the evidence that we have methodically laid out and put together. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that Richard was, as Leilani Hart stated, was a code red, that they murdered him, and that as another person in this whole thing, and I'm not going to say who said it, but they know who said it, that Richard was food for the coyotes, good food for the coyotes. There is not one piece of doubt in my mind that that they murdered Richard. Now, if I could take that back, if I could repiece all of our evidence together that he was alive, I would. I would do it. But the evidence is overwhelming that he was a whistleblower, that they retaliated against him continuously and severely, and the evidence points to that they were so severe that they were trying to suicide him, in our opinion, and that was not working. That did not work. And so when July 9th, 2020 came, and all of that retaliation was then, you know, that was all illegal. That was shown as an abuse of power because the whole basis for it had fell from their feet. There was no foundation anymore for all of that retaliation. And that was just days before his murder. Because what were they going to do? Were they going to give him back his rank, give him restitution for 45 days of extra duty wearing full battle gear during the COVID masking mandates? What were they going to do? Give him back 50% of his pay for 2 months? Apologize to him? What were they going to do? These people, they don't know how to do what's right and just and to humble themselves. No, this was an act of retaliation, and if they didn't, their option, because it was for whistleblowing, because Richard saw something and said something, and don't forget, being connected to the CID, being a CID intern, seeing these people that we even know now how Boleyn was connected to Richard. It wasn't through a dating site, okay? It was through the CID Fort Bliss office and the employees there and those connections with the CYS, with the CPS, Child Protective Services, with Park University, with the employees. That's how they met. And, it's just so clear. And now, when we add to the mix Felix Valenzuela being connected to 3905 and 3705 Bliss Avenue, and 3905 being a major interest to us for the events that happened there, to Richard, there's not a doubt in my mind that they murdered Richard. Because where is he? Where is he? You think he would just not call home? Maybe that's in another world, in another family. But, when you have overwhelming evidence, if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck and has a bill like a duck and flies like a duck, then it's a duck. And all the evidence points to Leilani Hart, a code red, retaliation for whistleblowing. And when July 9th, 2020 happened, they couldn't risk his testimony in court They couldn't risk it. And they killed him. That's where the evidence points to. And it involves the office of the Fort Bliss CID, because not now, but at that point it was led by Dirty Agent Marlon Soto and Dirty Agent Tavita Nusa. Okay? So, you know, uh, Marlon Soto, we have a complaint in for him. But, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, our complaint. So, yeah, they have a lot of explaining to do. And also Major General Clem Coward being part of this. So, and I think that's what the institutions are finally seeing. That's why they're giving us institutional help. That's why they're contacting us. That's why they're responding, because, they're seeing that all evidence, we have gathered so much evidence, including Nadal Baim, which is huge evidence, that Richard was being looked for, meaning his remains. They were not looking for a live Richard. They were digging. Richard did not live in a little hole in the desert. They were looking for his remains. They were not looking for a live Richard. And, that's the facts. And Nadal Baim even said, it's not good. He's dead. Shh. Shh. They found him. He's dead. Shh. Now, he is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel in the G3. That is, you have to have a clearance to be in G3. And, when you're a lieutenant colonel, you get a good clearance. You're not a lieutenant. You're not a captain. You're not a major. You're a lieutenant colonel. That's field grade. And he's in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. He gets that intelligence. He gets that intelligence. So Nadal Baim is not just some guy, like Dirty Agent Marlon Soto told us. He's an FBI employee and the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, who said, Nadal Baim said, that the FBI were looking for Richard. Now, the Department of State also corroborated that information, and the Interpol corroborated that information, and the Federal Criminal Database corroborated that information, that they found him and he's dead. Shh. And we have 3 autopsy reports that they don't want to answer to. Not yet. They're getting there. Because they are stunned. They are stunned by our evidence. And that's why we're getting institutional support. They are stunned that we know that that we found out who Nadal Baim was in the first place, because they didn't want to tell us, and they knew exactly who he was. We had to, now it took us months and months to find out, but we called him, and he absolutely corroborated what he said. And the most truthful person in this whole case has been that cashier. She's the star. Let me tell you, she is the star. And I've got to say this on live stream. I've got to let everyone know that she is the star. Because she called. because she reported, because she was honest. And please God, let us be able to reward her. Let us be able to reward her. So there is not a doubt in my mind that Richard was murdered. Okay? And we have enough. When you go into a court, and this is everything that we've learned in these 3 years, when you walk into a court, you don't have to have a body, okay? A remains. You just have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. We have enough evidence, way more than enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And, when you just talk about the retaliation, when you talk just them withholding the information from us, right? Of the July 9th, 2020, of Belen Rocha, of so many other things, of scrubbing Richard's archives of the Field Grade Article 15 and promoting him twice. Now, they knew what they were doing and they didn't notify us. They didn't notify us. That is, yeah. So, we need to get behind this soldier. He is right now one of the most important people of Team Find Richard Halliday, is this active duty soldier that is going through this. I can't even imagine what he's going through, because I know what we go through dealing with these agencies, dealing with the legal aspects of all of this, dealing with the military, having to deal with, a generals over you, the likes of dirty James Eisenhower, and very dirty. He needs to be stripped of that uniform. He's polluting that uniform. He's polluting his 4 stars. Absolutely, Sean Bernabe. Can you imagine everything that he has done to obstruct justice in this case? The Vanessa Guillen First Absent Soldiers case. I mean, if I was an advocate for Vanessa Guillen, if I was Vanessa Guillen's family, I would be up in arms. Up in arms, and I mean that as, just a saying, right? I don't mean that as a call to any kind of violence, but I would be totally on the phone, writing letters, saying, what? The absolute violent murder of my sister, my daughter, my friend, of this soldier, Vanessa, did not move Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe at all, did not move Lieutenant General Donna Martin at all away from their evil ways. I mean, they are like heartless, absolutely heartless. So, yeah, that was a huge day today. Huge. And we are absolutely moving forward. And it is hard, y'all. It is difficult. The emotions are you have to bottle them in. And I think the hardest emotions to bottle in is the actions of Angela Kucherga of KTEP and El Paso Matters in combination with Lalani Hart and David Poche with Felix Valenzuela to absolutely damage the service members there at Fort Bliss, to dishonor our military and to dishonor and work against El Pasoans and the broader area and even over into Mexico. What she did to me is, that's the hardest thing to bottle in. It's so destructive. It's so broad, what they did. And we need to get to the bottom of that. So we're working. That is one front that we are working on. And there's many facets in this, many fronts. And today you see it. 3 in 1 day. 3 in 1 day. So thank you so much for all your support. And please campaign for that petition for that soldier. We need so many signatures. We have over 300 signatures now. We need more. We need to send a clear message to Dirty Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and Major General James Eisenhower that they better treat our active duty Fort Bliss soldier that has requested for his rights to request a congressional inquiry with the utmost respect for his constitutional rights. That's what we need to send them. A loud message that we're watching them and they better not retaliate against him. That is the big message, right? And with other people, other agencies that are supporting us, they appreciate the help too. They appreciate us backing them up also, because it's very difficult when you are institutional support in this case to to do what is necessary to keep these soldiers safe and secure in their rights, their constitutional rights, with leaders like Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and Major General Eisenhower that are actively working to obstruct justice. In not just Richard's case, it has to be others. It has to be their SOP, right? It has to be their SOP. To let dirty agent Marlon Soto in front of us, in front of them, in front of us all, do their dirty work, and nobody is stopping them. Lieutenant General just let it happen right in front of us all. Yeah, so this is what I'm afraid of, and this is why I'm not really afraid, but this is what we have to really alert people about. We need to get behind this soldier, and getting behind this soldier is getting behind all of our service members and Fort Bliss and the El Paso area with the El Pasoans and the greater area and into Mexico. And let me tell you, the people in Chihuahua and the people in Juarez, their crime rate is huge. And so they don't need us to drop this ball. There's so many reasons to support this soldier. And, signing a petition, what's that? That's the least we can do. That's the least we can do. So if you've done that, thank you so much. But do more. Campaign for other people to sign it. Thank you. If you have any more comments, the Army has failed your family fully. Absolutely. Where do you believe Richard could be? Because I wish you were right. We have reports. We have reports. And where could Richard be as far as his remains? Because they dismembered him. Okay? There's no other. Look, we have all this information. We have requested the open records requests. Um, they are not at liberty to answer us yet. They've got to get their institutional support so strong, which means they need to get support from the public. The public has to support the institutional support for Richard. And that's why what Angela Kucherga did is so, so bad, is so damaging. And there's a lot coming out in that little aspect of this case. And I will let you know as soon as we put all the pieces together. But it's crazy. And, yeah, you know, we don't have all the answers right now as far as where Richard's remains are. But God has been through this every step of the way. And when He's ready to reveal to us where our son's remains are, it will happen. If that's what He wants, God's will be done. Right now, we're working for justice. We're working to find out what happened, to get the institutions to get them support like we're supporting them. They support us, but we need to support them. And it's been so under attack and so manipulated, and they've been so infiltrated, you know. And now, good news. Good news. Even in this chaotic time that we're living in, there's so much good news. And one of them is the reinforcement of the institutional support, the reinstitution of the institutional support. So we're really seeing some progress that we've been waiting for a long time. And like I said, we have to. It's absolutely necessary to show support for this soldier, for his safety, and the safety of other service members. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, agree. I don't believe any of the false narratives information, but absolutely pray Richard could be alive. Absolutely. Absolutely. But for the whole, almost 2.5 years, even though from day one, when Rob got off the phone with Richard, and I called Robert, our eldest son, I said, Richard's dead in a ditch somewhere. That's what I said to him. Because why wouldn't Richard call us? Why wouldn't Richard, you know, and his identity being stolen, which we have proof for, that they um, stole his identity. They stole his social security number. They used it. Um, and all of this millions of dollars of cover up. If Richard was alive, they would have found him and put him in front of us and maybe court martialed him. And you know what I'm saying? And he would be a deserter. He would be on the federal criminal records, and he would be a red Interpol. The evidence is overwhelmingly that they murdered him. And you, I haven't shared with you the vile and vulgar harassment and threats and things happening behind the scenes to our family. If Richard was alive, they would never go that far. Never. They they know that somehow, some way they're connected to the murder of Richard, and they did everything possible and still are trying to prevent us from finding out what happened to Richard. And that only means murder. Okay. So I can go on and on and on about the overwhelming evidence, um, circumstantial irregularities, and hard facts that all point to Richard being murdered. And that's really important for the public to know because they need to know how serious this crime is, um, on so many on so many, because they'd only murder him to protect their pocketbook. I think their business plan, and their business plan is a criminal enterprise. So that's what's going on here. Right. And yeah, and the last message I got for him was him telling me he loved me. Um, Give the woman her son. Yep. Give us our son's remains. Exactly. Don't give up. Keep pushing. Yep. Thank you so much. That's exactly the energy we need. Not to give up. Not to give up. Um, you have to face what happened, and then you fight like hell to get justice. And you have to use the system to do it. You have to use the legal system. You don't want to um, thwart the system. You have to get not only the institutional support, but the support of the people, because they're one. They're like Siamese sisters, and we can get all the evidence we want, but without that institutional support, we're not going to get the accountability. And so, that's why this is so important. And the tide really has turned, and uh, you know, uh, we're hoping that this snowballs into justice for Richard. Um, yeah, so keep saying a prayer and happy All Saints Day. It's All Saints. I got really emotional the other day with All Saints coming up, and so I don't know if I can talk about All Saints today because um, it's just I have to bottle it up. I can't talk about my dad or Richard and the people that I've loved, that I've lost, that have died in Christ, that are saints in beautiful places, beautiful stars. I just, I'm going to get too emotional. So, rest in peace. Um, Dad, rest in peace. Richard, rest in peace. Um, my Omi, so many others, so many other friends, so many. Um, so I'm just very grateful for this day to remember them. And of course, it's our daughter and son in law's wedding anniversary today. 9 years. Wow. What a day that was. That was a beautiful, beautiful day. So exciting day. Very exciting day in Seoul, Korea. So, yeah. Uh, so I just want to say happy All Saints to everybody. And I will be back tomorrow. God bless you all, and God's will be done.